Hi guys, today we're going to model, texture and render this product in Blender. Now 3D modeling is a core skill which can earn you good money, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you every step of how I do it. Let's get started. Well, we're going to start off at the Teenage Engineering website. These guys make incredible looking products. They've got kind of a lovely industrial vibe about them, but are really nicely designed. So this is what we're going to be modeling today. This is the KO2 Sample Composer. It's sort of a really beautiful design, lovely use of color and nice geometric shapes. And this is what we're going to model. So just do a quick Google search under Google Images. I found this image here, which is quite large. It's 4096 pixels square. Just do right click and save image as, and this is going to be basically our template that we're going to work from. Okay, hopping over into Blender. Brand new fresh scene. Press A to select everything, X to delete everything. 7 on the number pad. Let's hop into top view. We're going to do Shift A to add, and we're going to add an image reference. If we go open that image we've just downloaded, and here we can see it nicely placed on a flat plane in Blender. So what we're going to do, we'll try and give everything names as we go along. So let me just move this across so you can see it. So this is going to be called image reference. We're going to have a new collection, and we'll call this model. And we'll start off by adding a plane, and I'll call this body, main body. Okay, let's tab into edit mode. Let's put X-ray on so we can see right through that. S to scale. What we'll do, we're going to model this bottom section first. So G to grab, Y to move on the Y axis. Let's line it up with the bottom. 2 for edge select, and G to grab, Y. We're just going to move that underneath there. Okay, lovely. Right, Control R. Let's add some loop cuts. What we're going to do, we're going to basically add loop cuts. So if you see, basically the edge of these buttons, they're kind of cut out of the main body. So we're going to add loop cuts, basically all around these cutouts, and then we're going to delete the faces. Let me do that now. Right, so we've added in all the vertical loop cuts with Control R. You can see all those here. And now we're going to do the same with the horizontal lines as well. So Control R for the loop cut. Just hover to the side to make sure you've got a horizontal line. Okay, so we've built a grid now of all the horizontal and vertical lines. So now we can actually delete some of these faces. So we can see the buttons through the holes. So 3 to face select, and what we're going to do, I'm just going to click and select all of these buttons here, and we're going to delete the faces so we can basically make holes like that in the model. So you can see now what we're doing is kind of building up a grid with holes cut out for where the button. Okay, so that looks good. That's a great start. So we're just going to finesse this body now. So what we're going to do, we're going to add some modifiers so we can actually get some bevels around the buttons, and we're going to add a solidify modifier to give the body some thickness as well. So let's do that first. So hop out of edit mode, add a modifier. We're going to add the bevel modifier first. And let's just zoom in so we can see this. It's just going to be a very subtle bevel, this just to take a tiny radius off this corners. So we're going to bevel the vertices, not that much. So you can hold down Shift to get a finer adjustment on this. We're just going to, like I say, take the very tiny corner of these. Let's add a few segments in, maybe 4 segments should be enough. Okay, that just gives a little bit of extra polish just to the corners of the model. The next thing we're going to do is add a solidify modifier. And I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm guessing really. I don't actually have any height reference for this model, but I'm just going to guess it's going to be about this thick. Okay. And then we also, let's add a material as well. So we're doing a new material, we'll call this grey plastic. Right, so what we'll do, we'll pop into the shading editor. And we're going to try and copy, let's just hide this a second. So you can see we've got kind of very fine, just slightly lumpy plastic texture, very fine texture on there. We're just going to try and copy that. So what we'll do, the simplest way to do that, we'll just add in a noise texture. And we'll add in a bump node. And we'll connect that to the normal. And we'll connect the color to the height. Right, this starts to give us, well, you can see already there's a pattern going on, but we need to basically increase the scale a lot. So if you kind of look at the buttons as reference, that kind of gives you an idea of the scale we're looking for. So a little bit smaller still. Let's say 900, round it up. And we're just going to reduce the strength because we don't want it to be too noticeable, something like that. If I swap between that and the original, in fact I think we could give maybe a touch more to the strength. Okay, that gives us a nice texture on this. Okay, let's save our work. Hop back into layout view, and we're going to add the buttons next. So kind of start in a similar way. We're going to add a plane, so I'm just going to shift right click on this button just to give us a rough position. 7 to go into top view. Shift A, add a mesh plane, tab into edit mode, S to scale. Let's get this the right size. Right, if you notice it's disappearing, it's basically because all of these images and planes are all on the same Z reference. So if we just increase the Z plane, ooh, not too much, just by a fraction, that'll do. That should let us line it up better. So edge select number 2, just grab these, and we're aiming for the buttons at the minute, so grab these, line it up with the button just like that. We'll call this button. And back in the modifier stack, so tab out of edit mode. We'll do a similar thing again, we're going to add a bevel. Segments. Let's go for 9 segments. And then we're going to add a solidify modifier. And again, we're just going to eyeball this. Just kind of want it to, to disappear inside the model. And then we're going to add another modifier, another bevel modifier. And this is basically going to round the corners of the button off. So right click, shade auto smooth. And now you can see we should have, you see this little highlight around the bevel, we should be able to replicate that pretty nicely now. Okay. Right, that's the first button done. Let's add a material to it. So we'll start off with our grey plastic and we'll make a copy of it. We'll call it black plastic. We'll change the base colour to not quite black, something close. Right, we've got a slight issue with the texture being much smaller on this one. So what we'll do, there's two ways we could deal with it. We could either remap it in the UV editor, it might just be quicker just to change the scale of it in the material editor. I'm going to take the strength down because I want it to be subtler on the buttons. Okay. So we've kind of got the button slightly raised, which I think looks about right actually. So basically I'm just going to duplicate this button, so Shift D, press X, Shift D, X, and basically I'm just going to duplicate this button in all the places we've got a half height button. Okay, so we've got all of the half height buttons in the right size. We're just going to do the same with the full height buttons. So I'm just going to duplicate one of these. In edit mode, I am just going to basically edit this bottom line, grab it on the Y and just pull it down. Okay, so basically all I need to do now is copy and paste this in the right position. Okay, so we've got all our buttons. All our buttons are now in the right place. So we're going to add some materials to them. I think all I'm going to do is basically duplicate this material and just tweak the colour so we can basically match the colour that's underneath. So X-ray mode. So we've got some black buttons, some grey buttons, some red buttons and a couple of light grey buttons. Okay, let's do that then. Okay, so at this point I'm happy that we've got all of this laid out, all of these buttons. Right, next we're going to add in a panel for this LCD display. So very simple again, just shift and right click somewhere approximately in the right place. Shift A to add in a mesh plane. Tab into edit mode, scale it to the right height. I'm not going to worry about the texture for this part, we'll just leave that, I'll call that display. I'm just going to lift it in the Z axis, because actually, I don't know if you can see from the reference, let me just hide the main body. Actually there's a drop shadow from the display to the main body, so that shows it's just slightly different rays from there. Just probably about there, okay. I'll give it a basic material for now just so we can see it. So we'll basically just give it a shiny plane. Okay. Shiny plastic. Okay. The next tricky bit to model is going to be this speaker grill. We're going to do this with a plane, and I'm going to basically do some cylinders with an array modifier, and we're going to use the Boolean modifier to cut the holes in the plane. Okay, so we just start off, we're going to add a plane, tab into edit mode, scale it to the right size. So this is going to be, I'll call this the speaker grill. And what we're going to do, we're going to basically just add a ton of cylinders here. So I'm going to shift right click approximately the center. We're going to go into object mode. I'm going to add in a new mesh, a cylinder, scale it down. Let's get it to the right size. Alright, so we want it pretty much to exactly fit in that hole. As you can see here, the height of the cylinder is just basically protruding through the plane. That's going to be perfect. Okay, so with our array modifier, we're going to basically get the factor just about right here. So basically it fills the hole and then increase the count. So we've got the right number. It's 14 in this case. Let's just increase the factor just very slightly. Okay, that's pretty good. Now we're going to add another array modifier. And in this time, we're not going to go in the X direction, we're going to go in the negative Y direction. And we're just going to change the factor and increase the amount of count till we fill the hole. It's 12. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So with speaker grill, I'm just going to move that up on the Z so we can see it. Let's look from the side view. Then we're going to add in a Boolean modifier. And the object is going to be the cylinder that we just drew. Now if I hide the cylinder, we don't want that rendering, but you can actually see it's cut perfect holes right through the speaker grill, just like that. Now all we need to do is add a solidify modifier. Yes, let's do that first. It doesn't need to be too thick. And we'll add in a bevel. We're going to make that a bit smaller. There we have our speaker grill. Let's just give it a colour. Just have a quick look at my reference again. That's kind of a light grey plastic. Just increase the scale again just to match the reference. Okay, that's looking good. So if we hide the image reference now, hidden the body as well. You see, we're actually getting there now, started to look something pretty close. Okay, just the last few bits to model now. So we're just going to model this sort of part on top. Let's add in another plane, scale it. So this is just a basic plastic material. We've got some little cutouts here, here. So we could either do those with a Boolean, or we could maybe model them. Okay, let's try modeling them. I'm just going to add in some loop cuts, put them at the center of each circle. Sorry. And what we'll do, each vertex will bevel. So that's Shift Control B. And I'm going to roll up the mouse wheel to get some more subdivisions. And then we'll right click and we'll go to Loop Tools and we'll convert that to a circle. We'll press S to scale. G to grab. So let's just do that again for all of the other ones. So to bevel a vertex, it's Control Shift B. Ooh, doesn't like me doing all of them. So we can go down to Face Select and we can just press X to delete the faces. And we've got some perfect set out. So it looks something like that now. Okay, so we've got the bare bones of the model here now. I'm just going to quickly flesh out the last few parts with the same sort of process as before. It's make a plane, solidify modifier, and so on. Okay, leave this one with me. Okay, so at this point, most of the modelling is pretty much complete. You can see I just finished adding in sort of the buttons at the top and getting everything lined up at the side. And also when I added a light, I've just added a single area light, I could see that some of the texture was too intense. So I just dialed down the strength of that bump map. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is basically add in all of the buttons and all of the text. Let's show you again. Let's hide that collection. So basically, we've got lots of text across here. We've also got to add in this control here and the knobs. We'll come back to that. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is basically take this image into Affinity Designer, or you could use Photoshop or GIMP. And basically I'm going to copy out all of these texts in the right position so we can use that as part of the material map. Okay, let's get started on that. Okay, so at this point I've finally just got all of the graphics done to overlay onto the models. So they're looking really nice. I'm just going to take this section here. I'm going to find a colour version with some graphics on it, and I'm going to reuse that to go under the reflective panel at the top. Okay, I found this picture on the Teenage Engineering website, and I'm just going to do a screen grab of this section here. In Affinity Photo, I'm just going to increase the contrast just so we can get rid of this reflection here. So I've just isolated all of the graphics into separate folders. I'm just going to export them all separately as PNG files, so they're nice and transparent. So what we're going to do, we're going to add the images straight onto this model. So I'm going to do Shift A, Image, Images Planes. We'll add in the buttons first. We're just going to press S to scale, G to grab, and we're just going to move them into the right place. I think we just need to add in the rest of the knobs and little cutouts. So these volume knobs here, and this little cutout and this slider here, let's just add those in. Okay, so there are volume knobs. We're going to add in a Boolean cutout for this part here. In fact, let's just add in a cylinder first. Then we need to add in some Boolean cylinders for all of these little cutouts here, and also this volume slot here. So let's do that next. So I'm just extruding this cylinder down here. And that's going to be our cutout for this section here. Next, I'm going to add some cylinders here for these sort of cutouts for the lights. Okay, so at this point you can see we've got lots of little cylinders sticking out. We're going to conversely convert all of these into Booleans inside this model. Now, duplicate this and choose the next one. Fantastic. One more thing to do with this display. What we'll do, I'll shift right click and we'll add in our images planes, the reflection. What we'll do, let's move that into We'll move this underneath the screen. So grab Z and we'll make this transparent. And this part here, the graphic, we'll add that as an emission shader. So where it says emission, add the colour down there. And we'll increase the strength up a bit. And now if we turn the light off, you'll actually see this part glows in the dark. How cool is that? Just going to add in a mesh plane. Okay, so here's the final model. This is after we kind of finished all the tweaks. We've got just a plain grey background just for the model to sit on. We've got two area lights either side just to offer some lighting, nice big soft lighting, and I think it's turned out pretty well, this. So this is what the render looks like. If you compare this to our actual reference image, you can actually see we've got it pretty close to the reference, but actually obviously ours is a complete 3D model. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.